I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 193, where faith fits into healing. Hello, my lady. If you have a spouse that is struggling with a pornography problem, then you are in the right place. My name is Jolene Wynn, and I am a life coach, a member of the LDS faith, and the wife of a former porn addict. And in this podcast, I am going to teach you how to change the way that you are affected by your husband's choices. We can't change him, but what we can do is change the way that you respond when he makes the decisions that he does. I'm going to teach you how to manage your brain, how to process all of the emotions that seem so overwhelming to you so that you can finally live a life where you aren't living in fear of triggers and relapses. And by learning how to manage your mind and process your emotions, you are no longer going to be running on an emotional roller coaster, but you are going to start feeling so much more in control of your life no matter what your husband is doing. And I'm going to teach you all of that on this podcast. I can't wait to get started with you, and I'm so glad that you are here. I promise you, you're in the right place. Hello, my ladies. How are you? I am good, and I am looking forward to talking to you right now. I have been thinking so much about faith recently because, as you guys know, this podcast episode is coming out Monday, the 22nd, and it would be the day that I am doing a brand new masterclass inside my course, inside my coaching program, all about faith. This is my faith masterclass, how to have faith. That's the masterclass. And I'm so excited. I really wanted to share with you guys a little bit about why I decided to create this. So number one is that I changed my New Year's resolution for the year. So initially, the word that I kind of came up with, the energy that I wanted to have for this year was the word go. I wanted it to be very action oriented. I was tired of all of the emotional drama of the last year and indecision and all the things. And I said, okay, I want to just take some action and do some things that have been on my to-do list that I haven't done yet. But I didn't really like the hustle energy of the word go. It didn't fit quite right. And as I just kind of thought about it, one of the things that I've really been practicing over the last few weeks is letting go of my own will and submitting to God. Trying, if you guys listened to last week's episode, trying and submitting my will to God's and letting Him take the lead. And so I changed my resolution for the year to the word flow. And what I meant by that is really just allowing myself to be on God's timeline and allowing my inspiration to come from Him and to be submissive to Him and to allow the creativity that comes to be a flow from Him through me. And I have been thinking about this, and so I just said, you know what? I was going to teach a masterclass this week on goals and New Year's resolutions, and I was just not feeling it. And I said, you know what? I really want to do it on? I really want to do it on faith. And so that's what I've been doing. So I've been thinking about it so much and preparing, and I'm so excited. I'll give you guys a brief little overview of what I'm going to talk about each day, but I really want to encourage you guys to come join. So the way that you're going to be able to get access to this is by joining my coaching program. And now is the best time because the price is going to go up, ladies, with the way that I have it structured and formatted. I'm changing a few things and the price is going to be going up. And so now is the best time to join. And you can go to my website and you can sign up today. And I would love it if you would do that today so that you can come join us live. So today, Monday the 22nd through Thursday of this week, I'm going live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern. And that's when I'm going to be teaching and coaching. And I'm going to talk a little bit about faith today on this podcast episode, but I'm not going to do a ton on this podcast. And here's why. Because faith is so unique and so individual. And because of that, I really want to encourage you, if you're feeling like this is calling to you, then sign up and come live if you can, so that I can teach you and coach you through your specific questions, your hurdles, your thoughts, your faith questions, so that we can work through it. Because again, I don't like coaching in generalities. That's one of the reasons why I love that, why the way that I have my program set up is, yes, all of my material, all of my content it's not just general ideas of life coaching. I have it targeted specifically to you and what you're going through. And then we take it even more specifically on the coaching calls. We make it completely individual. I am a one-on-one coach. I coach you one-on-one in a group setting. You get one-on-one coaching from me as often as you want. And that is what I'm doing in this masterclass. And again, I'm so excited about how I have this framed because it gives me the opportunity to help each one of you individually. And again, faith is such an individual, personal thing. We all have different thoughts, little idiosyncrasies, little experiences that we've had along the way that have shaped how we think about God, the way we experience God, the way we experience our faith. And that's what I want to help you with. So again, you can join by going to my website, jolenewind.com, signing up for my lifetime access coaching program. You will be able to immediately get access to all of our calls this week for the masterclass. You'll be able to join live. You will also be able to get access to the recordings. So they are recorded and they are going to be sensational. So you will have access to that. So any point, if you're listening to this 6 months from now or 10 years from now and you say, oh my gosh, I wish I could have joined, you still can. All of that material is inside my coaching program, okay? And that's what I wanted to share with you guys, just give you a little update on what's going on this week. And I'm going to dive into today's podcast topic. But first, I did want to let you guys know some exciting news, which is that I have taken a few of my most popular masterclasses and made them into individual courses that you can just sign up for online and immediately start accessing. So many of you have messaged me saying that you want all of this material and how can you access it? And so I have taken a few of the most popular ones, the classes that you guys loved the most and wanted the most access to, and made them available on my website. So if you go to jolenewind.com/courses, then you will be able to see I have 5 master classes that you guys will be able to access and purchase and then immediately consume all of the content. Okay. And I'm so excited for these right now. They're on sale. I'm doing a special launch pricing in celebration of it. And I'm so excited for it. So you can, again, go to my website, jolenewind.com/courses. You'll be able to see all 5 of those there. And I'll just tell you briefly what they are and what they're each about. Okay, so the first one is how to set boundaries. If you are struggling with setting boundaries in your relationship, in your marriage, in any relationship that you have, if you don't really know what a boundary is, this is for you. Go sign up for this masterclass today. You'll be able to get access to all that material. And you're going to learn what a boundary is, how to set personal boundaries, relational boundaries, and emotional boundaries. All of that is covered in this course. The second course that I have is called How to Trust. This is by far my most popular course. Okay, this was always been my most popular one because it's such a struggle for so many of you. And it was definitely the biggest struggle in my marriage, which is how do we rebuild trust in a relationship after it's been broken through betrayal trauma? This is the course for you. Okay, I go into what is trust, the roadblocks that we have to trusting, how on earth you're supposed to trust again in an actual practical how-to way. And then I give you the secret to trust that nobody's ever taught you. And all of that is covered in that course. The third course that I have available is how to not hate your body. Now, I didn't even think I hated my body when I started working on my body. It turns out that I did. However you feel about your body, if it's not the way that you want to feel, this course is for you. I think this is probably going to be more popular over the spring when everyone starts wanting to lose weight for the summer and starts to become aware of all their body issues and all their physical insecurities. This course is for you. If you're not happy with the way that you feel about your body right now, this is for you. We go into how you feel about it right now and why, what your body means about you, how we often keep ourselves stuck in our thoughts and feelings about our body, and then how to change how you think and feel about your body. And I outline it in a way of how to actually change the neural pathways in your brain and the beliefs that you have about yourself. This is not just, hey, let's recite some pretty mantras and hope that that changes how you feel. This is how you actually change what you believe about your body, the way you think about yourself, the beliefs that you have, so that you don't have to spend one more minute hating your reflection. this course is for you. The next course that I have is the How to Forgive Masterclass. And this is so powerful for anyone that wants to forgive their husband or anyone else in your life, but you're not sure how to do it. I struggled with this for so long. I was like, yeah, we're supposed to forgive, but what does that even mean? How do we even do it? It's not like anyone told me, here's the practical how-to guide. If you've been looking for it, this is it, okay? So I talk about our thoughts about forgiveness, what forgiveness actually is, and how to do it, how to process emotions to forgive, and how important it is to forgive yourself. I go into forgiving yourself. I teach about the shame cycle, and then I introduce you to the humiliation cycle. And then in a bonus, you get to watch me process an emotion in this course. That is one of the videos. So if you want to watch that alone, go sign up for this course. And then the last one, which is probably almost as popular as the How to Trust Masterclass, is the Confident Sexuality Masterclass. This is probably my favorite. Okay. And it's coming up just in time for Valentine's Day. So if you want to have a better Valentine's Day this year than last year, go sign up for this course. I guarantee you it's going to be life changing. Okay. I talk about in this course, you're going to learn about how you feel about sex is one of the days, thoughts about sexuality, and how to separate sex from pornography, which alone right there is worth the course. If you are struggling with how to separate sex from pornography, go get this course, go buy it today, sign up for it, watch it, because this is where we dive into it really deep. I talk about physical insecurities, sexual insecurities, and finally, confidence and how to build it and how to actually build it in a way where, again, it resonates with you and it's not just something fake that you're trying to repeat to yourself. This class is for you if you're struggling with your sexuality. And by that, I mean, if you are struggling feeling confident in the bedroom, if you are not loving how you feel about your physical intimacy with your spouse, this course is for you. It'll be the best Valentine's Day gift you ever give him, I promise. Okay? So those are all up live on my website. You can buy one, you can buy all 5. And again, they're on sale right now, and they're only going to be on sale for another week. So go sign up today so that you don't miss the special discount pricing, launch pricing, and I can't wait to hear all the feedback. Okay, ladies, that was a really long intro, but I wanted to tell you all of that. And let's dive into today. Let's talk about where faith fits into healing. This has been so fascinating for me, and I have had a million different notes on my phone that I wanted to share. And what I really wanted to come in and tell you is where faith fits in the self-coaching model. You guys ready? The self-coaching model is the main coaching tool that I teach my clients, and you guys are learning it day in and day out on the podcast, even if you don't know it, okay? And this is a tool that I learned through the Life Coach School, which is where I certified. And where it begins is that we have circumstances. It's the self-coaching model is CTFAR. C is for circumstances. We have circumstances all around us. They're neutral. T is for thoughts. These are the thoughts that we have, sentences in our brain that we have about our circumstances. And then we have F, which is for feelings. And feelings are vibrations in our body that are caused by our thoughts. So we have our circumstances and then our thoughts and then our feelings. And then our feelings are what drive the A, which is our actions. And then all the actions that we take in our life are what produce R, which is all of our results. CTFAR, circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Okay? So where does faith fit in this model? It's not in there. There is an F, but that's for feelings. But that's exactly where faith fits in as well. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you guys this personal example. And I've given it before. If you guys go back very early on in the first 20 episodes, I did a bonus episode called My Journey of Forgiveness. And so that kind of is the illustration of where faith fit into healing for me. And I'm going to give you guys that again at the end. But what I want to offer first is that faith is what creates transformations. Okay? Because it's not based in evidence. Faith is a decision that you get to make. Faith is a choice. It's something you just decide. And you might base it off a series of beliefs, a collection of beliefs that you have. Beliefs, again, are just thoughts that we choose to keep thinking. So I might choose to believe that I have a terrible body, or that my stomach is too big, or that I'm not a good mom. I might choose to believe that God created the universe, that my husband is a porn addict. I might choose to believe that my dream body is not possible for me. I might choose to believe all manner of things, okay? But the collection of beliefs that I have about God, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. The collection of beliefs that I have about my religion, about God, about Jesus, that is what creates my faith. And all of those thoughts, all of those beliefs are choices, decisions I get to make. These are thoughts that I'm choosing to keep, thoughts that I'm choosing to repeat over and over. And that is what creates faith. And faith is so amazing because faith requires no evidence. Okay, the minute we have evidence, it's no longer faith. You guys with me on this? The minute you see evidence, the minute you have proof, is the minute that faith is no longer required. Because now you don't need faith. You don't need to believe because you can see it. I don't have to believe that a TV works if you turn it on and I can see that it works. But until then, I might just have to believe or take your word for it, or I might doubt it. Does that make sense? The minute that I have evidence or proof that a TV can turn on is the minute I no longer need faith to believe that it can happen. I already have evidence. I already see that it works. My other senses have now been involved. And so I don't need to just hold space for beliefs and thoughts and decisions just to think that it is true. Does this make sense? And this is why faith creates transformation, because it's not based in evidence. In order to believe something new, you have to use faith, because otherwise you're basing it off of evidence, off of proof, off of what you've already seen and believe is possible. And if you're doing that, then you're going to continue to create what's already been created. In other words, you stay the same. Okay, ladies, I'm going to say this again. When you have faith, that's when you're believing in something you have no evidence for yet. And that's what creates transformations, because that's when you say, I don't know if this is possible. I have zero evidence that it's possible, but I'm going to believe in it anyway. Does that make sense? You're not basing it off of evidence and proof, because when you base what's possible off of evidence and proof, you're just using your past to dictate your future. You're saying, well, it's only possible to create more distrust because all I have is evidence and proof that when I trust him, he lies. I only have evidence that he lies. I only have evidence that he's hiding stuff from me. And so I'm only going to keep using distrust. All of my past is saying, don't trust him. And that's what I'm going to perpetuate. But when you say, you know what, I have no evidence that I should trust him and I'm going to do it anyway, that's when something different is created. That's why faith creates transformations. It's holding space for the possibility, for that leap. This is why we call faith a leap. It's a leap of faith because it's a leap into something we haven't seen yet. Our brain doesn't like faith. Our logic hates faith. It's why it feels so uncomfortable, because our brain likes to use the senses, what we can see, what we can hear, what we can touch, taste, smell. Our brain wants physical evidence. This is why it keeps bringing up your past to dictate your future. It keeps wanting to say, no, that's not how we should do things. Let's keep doing things the way they've been done because I have evidence that this keeps me alive. I have proof that this works. Let's keep doing it that way. But if you keep doing it that way, ladies, you're going to keep getting the same result, which doesn't create transformation. Transformation happens when there's a leap. I have this thought, I almost called this podcast Infinite Potential. And it sounds huge, but these words just really stood out to me today. And I want to talk to you about it for just a minute. Okay? Stay with me, ladies. Potential is an adjective. Okay? So it describes, and the definition is having or showing the capacity to become or develop into something in the future. Okay, so think about that for a minute. Potential, the capacity to become or develop into something in the future. You have potential, but not just potential. You have infinite potential. And an infinite is an adjective, the word infinite, and it's limitless or endless in space, extent, or size. It is impossible to measure or calculate. Put those words together, ladies, and that's what you have. the capacity that you have to become or to develop into something in the future is impossible to measure or calculate. That is a beautiful thought. And our minds don't even comprehend it really, because it's difficult it's a difficult concept because everything that we encounter and experience on earth is finite. It has an expiration date, or it has a limit, right? Cars can't exceed a certain speed. Milk can't last beyond a certain date. Bikes only last until you outgrow them or until the tires wear down. Even our physical bodies are finite. Our bodies break down, they die, they get sick. So the concept of something being infinite is difficult to process, especially when it's regarding ourselves, because of all the self-judgment that we have, all of the perceptions that we have about what are possible for us, what is possible for us, the growth that we could experience. All of that is limited by our own evidence and proof of what we think is possible. Our brain wants to say, all the evidence is stacked against you. You've never been able to do it so far, so that means you're never going to be able to do it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just live with what you have. That's all that's possible. And what I want to teach you today, ladies, is that that is a lie. You have infinite potential. And when you have faith in that infinite potential, that is when transformation occurs. When you're able to hold space for the infinite potential, when you're able to hold space for the impossible, that's when transformation occurs, because you hold space in a way that changes who you are. Okay, does this make sense? The best news that I could ever give you, ladies, is that you're not doing everything you can yet. Whatever it is that you believe that you want, that you think is impossible. Do you think your dream body is impossible? Do you think that emotional healing is impossible? Do you think that the relationship with God that you want is impossible? Whatever you think is impossible, it's not. Okay? And I promise you, you're not doing everything that you can yet. And this is the best news ever, because it means that you are not lacking and it's not impossible for you. If you were already trying everything that you possibly could and you weren't getting anywhere and you didn't have the result that you wanted, then it would mean that's the end. Game over. You just didn't win. It's a lie. Ladies, you have infinite potential. It's not even measurable. It's impossible to measure or calculate the capacity that you have to become. So whatever it is that you want to become is still possible. And the only reason that you haven't achieved it yet is because you forgot to hold faith in order to create that transformation, in order to become that version of yourself. Does this make sense? This is great news, because it just means that we just have to shift your belief in your potential, and then your life can shift with it. And here's how that works. I'm going to give you guys an example of how I did this in my business, okay? When I think that the goal of $100,000, when I made $12,000 my first year, and I set my goal the next year, my coach said, she didn't say, all right, what's possible for you? What do you think is realistic? She said, how much do you want to make? And I said, $100,000. And she said, excellent. That sounds fantastic. Here's how we're going to do it. And she taught me how to do it. And she said, what you need to do is hold space and belief from your 100K self. Go meet her. Feel how she feels. How does she feel about your business? How does she feel about her clients? How does she feel when she checks her email? How does she feel when she looks at her money? How does she feel when she's making decisions about her business? And you start acting from the possibility that you're already her. And then you make different decisions. You think differently, you feel differently, and then you start acting differently. And all of that creates a different result, the transformation that you're looking for. But it only comes if you're holding faith in that potential. Because again, I didn't have any evidence that I could make $100,000. I had zero evidence. In fact, the only evidence that I had was that I could make 12. And my brain said, we can't make $100,000. We can only make 12. And the only reason that I know I can make 12 is because I've already made it. But I said, no, I don't need evidence. The evidence is irrelevant. Ladies, you've heard me say it a million times. Your past is irrelevant. Your brain, your primitive brain, wants evidence and proof to determine what's possible. And what I want to offer is that your primitive brain is no longer running the show. I sent this in an email this week, ladies. I'm done messing around, and so should you. You are in charge of your brain. You are in control of your future. You are in control of your transformation, and that is where faith comes in. Faith is what you have when you have no evidence, and no evidence is required. I have faith that I can do this, belief in myself, belief that it's possible, and I'm going to hold space for that. I'm going to hold that belief. And if it's possible, if I believed it were possible, how would I feel? What would I think? What would I do? If I believed it were possible for just a moment to heal from everything, if I thought for just a moment that it was possible, if I believed for just a minute that it was possible that I could heal from this, how would I feel? What would I think? What would I do differently in my life? And you start taking thoughts and feelings and actions, and all of those add up into a completely different result. And at the end of a year, 6 months, 3 months, a week of making decisions from that place, you're already a different person. Transformation has already occurred, but it only occurs with faith. It starts with faith. It starts with that collection of beliefs. And maybe it's just a collection of one. Maybe it's just a collection of one belief. And maybe that belief is small, and maybe it's not even all the way formed, but even just holding space of what if it were possible is sometimes all you need in order to create a completely different version of yourself. I've seen this over and over and over again in my life. What if I could strengthen my relationship with God? This is how I started applying life coaching in the first place. I'd been listening to life coaching podcasts and mindset podcasts, and I said, I want to apply this to my faith, to my relationship with God. I don't feel as close to God as I want. All my life, I had looked at other people. I had seen artists do Christian music and worship leaders, and I thought, I think they feel God on a level differently than I do. I want what they have, but I had no idea how to get it. And I didn't even know if it was possible for me. And I just kind of kept thinking, like, maybe I just don't feel that way. Maybe it's just something that I've always desired and I just don't have. And then a couple years ago, I said, no, what if it's possible? I think I want to go after it. I think I want to experience God differently. What if that's possible for me? And I believed it for just a minute. I held space for myself for just a minute to hold that belief, enough that I started to allow it to change me. I held that belief. I held that faith of what if it's possible? And from that space, that's when I started to apply life coaching tools to my faith. I started taking the tools from these podcasts, and I first applied them to my relationship with God before I applied them anywhere else. I started to intentionally see my faith, to apply intentionality and mindset to my religion, to my God, to my relationship with God and Christ, and it changed everything. And that is what began everything that you see today. And that's why I wanted to teach this masterclass this week, is because I said I have to share this with people. This is probably the most powerful transformation that I have seen yet to this day in my life, is my relationship with God, is how I think about God, how I feel about God, how I experience God. And I want to share with you how you can do it too, how you can change yourself, how you have 100% control over your faith, because I know it doesn't feel that way. I know that sometimes it feels like our faith is at the mercy of our situation, at the mercy of our circumstances, in the same way that sometimes we feel like our emotional healing is at the mercy of our circumstances, that our emotional state, our mental state is at the mercy of our circumstances, the mercy of our marriage, of the decisions that our husband is making. And yet none of that is true, ladies, not a single bit of it. You are in control of your faith. The future of your faith is entirely in your control. And if you don't know how that is true yet, if you don't even understand how that could be possible, then this is for you. And I'm going to show you how it's possible. But you just have to hold space and believe for just a minute in order to say yes. That's the biggest transformation that I see for people. Do you guys want to know why I charge money for my work, for working with me? One, because it is a job and I do have to feed my family. But two, because it's for you, because there is a transformation that takes place that is required in order for you to say yes. And it's that belief, it's that space of faith for just a minute where you say, what if it's possible for me? If I believed it were possible, I want you to think about this, ladies, for just a minute. If you truly believed that it were possible for you to heal, what would you do? How would you think? How would you feel? What action would you take if you believed for just a minute that it were possible? Would you say yes? Would you sign up? Because I think you would. The problem is that you're not holding that space for yourself. You're not believing in that infinite potential. You're not holding the faith in your impossible to measure or calculate the capacity to become and develop into something in the future. You have an immeasurable capacity to become. And I believe that, and I am holding space for that. And if you hold space for that infinite potential within you for just a minute, then what could be possible in your life? What transformations could take place? All of it is possible. If you captured that for a moment and believed in it, and then took action from that belief of that infinite potential, your life would immediately start to dramatically shift. And that's what faith is. That's why faith creates transformations, because your brain says you only have a finite potential, and your finite potential is based on what I've already seen you do. And what I've already seen you do is everything in your past. And if you continue to base your future and your potential, because that's what your future is your potential. It's what happens next, right? If what happens next is only based on what you've already created, then you will only continue to create more of it. And if you don't want more of what you have, which I don't think you do because you're listening to this podcast, then it's time for your faith in your infinite potential to step in. Your belief that it's possible. I want to encourage you to hold space for it, for your capacity to become. And not just a capacity to become. It's not like you just have a finite capacity. You have an immeasurable capacity. It is impossible to measure or quantify the capacity that you have to grow and to become. And that's what we're going to apply to faith this week. Our faith has an infinite potential, ladies. I have every part of me believing in you right now. And I know that God has every part of him believing in you. And all you need is not even full belief, but just the possibility of it. And that's what faith is. That's where faith starts, is just in the possibility, just in the hope that it could be possible. And that's where we begin. And if you even just have a hope that it's possible, then come join me, because you have an infinite potential, and that transformation starts at the beginning of your faith. Faith is what creates transformation. I told you I would share just a little story with you, and I'm going to now, about where faith fits in the self-coaching model. The circumstance was my husband was addicted to pornography for our entire marriage. And I had many thoughts about it that made me feel like I was not enough. And when I was finally willing to give that up, I wasn't able to 100%. I was able to 99%. And I realized I had this last little bit of pain and hurt and suffering and betrayal and rejection. And I didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't let it go. And the only thing that made me able to let it go, and it's what has enabled me to do it time and time again, is I gave it to Jesus. I sat with him in my mind, in my soul, and I connected with him. And my faith in him allowed me to hand him my hurt, to hand him my distrust, to hand him my pain. And I was able to do that in a very practical way, the way that I teach my clients, processing emotion, okay? It's a practical skill. This isn't just a nice story. I had a practical skill. I processed the pain, but I couldn't just give it away. I gave it to him. And that's how I was able to move on. That's how I was able to forgive and to trust and to heal and to go forward, ladies. The reason we're able to go forward is because of Christ, because of God, because of mercy and grace and forgiveness and their power to step in places when we can't. For them to take over when we can't do it anymore. That is where faith fits into the model. Right after we feel. Right after we process our emotions, which is an action. Part of that action is giving it to God, giving it to Jesus and saying, I'm done with this distrust. I don't want it anymore. I'm done with this hurt, with this pain. Please take it. I'm handing it to you. And that's what creates a completely different result. And that result is transformation. But it only comes as a result of faith, of stepping forward when you have no evidence. Not only having no evidence to believe it, but all the evidence to the contrary. when you say, I have no business believing I can do this, and I'm going to do it anyway. I have no business believing that I can transform. I have no business believing in my infinite potential because all I've seen is finite potential. All I've seen is finite proof that I can't. All I've seen is finite evidence that it's impossible. But guess what, ladies? Nothing is impossible with God. And that's what we're going to teach this week. I love you, ladies. And so does God. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care. All right, ladies, it's time to rise up and take charge of your healing, and I have the best way for you to do it. I have created a lifetime access coaching program that I have designed specifically for you and exactly what you're going through right now. This is where I help you develop a personal mastery of all the tools that you're learning here on the podcast in order for you to create a permanent change. Go to my website, joleneWynn.com. You will find all the information there, and you can sign up today. And we will start going forward. I can't wait to see you there.